All right, so here is a majority of my major components. What I have included now is a clock, which as you can see, we're in clock mode as it just incremented a minute. But I have a clock setup, as well as a stopwatch mode. And so these are my buttons. This is gonna be button 1, button 2, button 3, button 4, and button 5. And the way this works is if we press button 1, it'll bring us into clock setup mode. And so based on whichever digit we want, we can either increment or decrement our time that we desire. And it only goes up to 2 for this one just because we're doing military time. You can change which one you want to increment and decrement based on your digits placed here, these 4 switches. And so we can do any time. I've also incorporated a 7-segment digit display component as well. As you can see, it now flashes here on the 7-segment instead of on the LEDs. So by pressing the middle button, which is 4, it brings me to clock mode. Now you can see it's 12:02. It's not the real time, but as we can see, it's incrementing every minute. If we wanted to go into stopwatch, we would press this button and then pressing the start button. And as you can see, it's starting to increment every second. If I wanted to pause it, I would hold down my pause button, and that would stop our stopwatch. And if I wanted it to continue incrementing, I would just let go and allow it to continue. If I wanted to reset it and possibly go back to maybe like clock setup, I can press R2, press it again. Oh, well, I just reset it. But I can press 2, and then press 1, and we'll be back in our clock setup mode. What I hope to kind of incorporate into the next part of my project is I want to be able to connect my clock setup mode and my clock mode, because I have a clock mode and I have a clock setup mode. I just have to get the output of the clock setup mode and turn it into an input for my clock mode. I also am going to incorporate the keypad as well, so that instead of using these buttons here, I'm going to be using a keypad that looks something like this. As far as my code, in order to do this and show it on the 7-segment digit display, I found an online code for the refresh rate so that each anode can be changed at a fraction of the time, and so that at any given point, the value that I'm passing through is sent to that specific anode. I'm also using clock divider code provided from last semester, and everything else I've kind of written on my own. So I have an FSM, and that kind of determines which mode I'm in. I have a stopwatch. I have a clock setup and a clock mode. And yes, that is my system.